I am Robert K. Brown, publisher, editor, and founder of Soldier Fortune magazine. I seldom do endorsements, but I think we have a product here that is well worthy of my support. I know both the individuals quite well that have produced this tape, and the type of instruction that Randy Warner and Bob Taylor provide, as far as I'm concerned, are unparalleled. It will be of great use to the general public, but also especially law enforcement and even military personnel. Study it closely. You can learn a lot. It may save your life.
Hello, my name is Greg Walker. As the executive editor for Fighting Knives magazine and Full Contact magazine, it's indeed a privilege to be here to talk with you about this particular instructional series. I've known Randy Warner and Bob Taylor for a number of years now, and in the last 16 years of participating in and working around people who are involved in the seriously combative martial arts, I don't believe that I've seen a program as well put together and executed as the one that you're about to witness. Self-defense, serious self-defense, is something that cannot be taken lightly. In today's field, there's too many charlatans, too many people out there that would offer to you that their system will work on the street. Randy Warner and Bob Taylor have put together a system of self-defense and self-protection techniques and moves that I believe will indeed help you on the street to survive the kinds of confrontations and situations that happen around us every day. I trust you'll enjoy what is about to be presented, and if you work hard, train hard, I think you'll find that what they have provided for you will indeed help to save your life or the lives of the loved ones that you may hold dear.
When you get lucky, when the opponent isn't paying much attention, you get a third of a second to deal with all of this.
"15 years ago, when Randy and I started the weapons disarming techniques that we developed over the years, we had to take into account that there is such a wide variety of firearms that we came into working on different conditions, different types of firearms. For example, a Colt 1911, which is a single-action automatic pistol. Now, this is what we call an auto-loader. And being an auto-loader, every time that the weapon fires, the action comes back, reloads the weapon, and it again is in single-action mode. What we call a weapon on condition 1 would be the hammer back, safety off, where about 2.5 to 3 pounds of pressure would discharge the weapon. Now, this being a large single action, you then go to a small single action pistol, such as this Beretta Model 21. The Beretta is a pop-up barrel. It's a single action. The hammer has to be back for the weapon to fire, but if you noticed, wrapped up in the hand, it doesn't offer much of a target. So many of the techniques had to come from the fact that we're attacking the actual hands that were holding the weapon rather than the weapon itself. Once again, single action with the safety off, depression of the trigger fires the weapon. We go into a double action, such as a revolver. Now this is a Smith Model 28 Highway Patrolman, and it fires both ways. On a double action mode, you have to pull the trigger, draws the hammer back, then releases it. It will also fire on single action. Once again, the most dangerous mode a firearm can be in. Then you have to take into account that a number of the automatics today are double action, single action. In other words, they will fire the same way as a revolver. Give me the Walther. This is a Walther PPKS. It will fire single action, hammer all the way back, one depress of the trigger, it fires, or in the double action mode. Generally speaking, if the hammer is down, you have a little bit more time, we're talking microseconds, before that weapon discharges because there's a longer pull. And then you go to a small double action, where once again, you have a weapon, extremely small, fires both double action or on single action mode. Once again, if the weapon is in double action, if you take the amount of time, it's a more concerted effort for the gunman to pull the trigger. And then you go to your large double action. This is a Beretta 92S. What you see, the difference here, blue barrel, this has got it's a simunitions barrel. It does not fire live ammunition. Once again, the weapon will fire double action or in a single action mode. And part of the reason for this development, after collectively about 15, 16 years in the arts, neither one of us knew any viable technique of disarming a person with a live firearm. And one of the worst nightmares that a human being can have, give me the Smith, would be one day walking to your car, go to get in, and have this. It's probably one of the scariest views. We hope nobody ever sees that view. Now, we work with live handguns, and if you're a professional, and only if you're a professional, we mean law enforcement or military, should you even start working with live firearms. In this package that you're getting, you'll be provided a rubber training gun. We suggest wholeheartedly that you use this and do not deal with live firearms. One mistake could be fatal. And it's not just your life, it's everybody's life in the surrounding area that you take into chance of harming. Now, a substitute for a firearm, give me the APAT. Okay, one substitute that you can use if you're in the office, your practice partner's in the office. Simply place a large fountain pen between your fingers, and Randy will do technique number one. The same effect as if you had a firearm. Okay, but it's safe. It can't go off, it can't kill anybody. For a medium-sized weapon, you can use, now this is like an intermediate. The shotgun, the sawed-off shotgun we use in the tape, the Uzi machine guns that we use in the tape, which are replicas. The same type thing. You still have the leverage advantage of using this, but you don't have the danger. And then when you go to a long gun takeaway, you can use something like this axe handle. Once again, it gives you all the advantages and the ability to use all the leverage that you see in all these joint manipulations, removing the danger factor. So remember, unless you're a professional, do not use live firearms in practicing these techniques.
Yeah. Another caveat, this you need to pay attention to. You cannot practice these techniques that we're going to show you on the tape in an uncontrolled, unrestricted environment. You can't take even your crudest made 2x4 painted black simulated Uzi down to the park amongst people who can watch who are not involved in this and practice gun disarming techniques with them. Local law enforcement can't read your mind. They don't know what's going on. They can get a call from a concerned citizen, your next door neighbor half a mile down the street. All kinds of unexpected and entirely plausible scenarios can occur from you practicing these techniques in an uncontrolled, unrestricted environment. Do not use these techniques, don't practice them in a place where you are not sure about who can see and who can participate. Everybody has to, that's able to see the techniques being practiced has to be involved in it. Pay attention to that, because the problem is from 200 yards away, it is difficult to tell the difference between a replica weapon or a real weapon. The results can be very disastrous. People get hurt. Do not do it. Also, as we get into these techniques, explanations of them, keep in mind one thing. We are showing these techniques and we're advising or showing you to use these when one condition is met. You have made the decision. When you decide to use the technique, you're good at it, you have to use it to save your life, to save somebody else's life. In a hostile situation, you have made a decision. You've made the decision that the person holding the firearm on you is able to and is going to drop the hammer, shoot. It's not maybe, or they're not, if the situation is at the point of, give me your wallet, that's not the same as if they're holding the gun on you and you think they're going to shoot. You have to use your judgment. Perhaps you might have 1 or 2 seconds only to make that decision. But using the technique, keep in mind, it means that you have made that decision. They're going to pull the trigger anyway. Because even though these techniques approach 99% effectiveness at ranges of 2 feet or less, never forget, keep it in mind, the unarmed defender against the armed attacker is at a disadvantage. In this case, when it's firearms we're dealing with, the disadvantage, you only get one chance to make a mistake. You won't get another.
One thing I'd like to add to Randy's last statement is in all of our techniques, you'll notice that we teach you to clear yourself where you're not going to get shot. The other application that you have to look at is that that bullet is going someplace. If you're in a crowded convenience store or a donut shop and somebody pulls a weapon and you're the prime target and you know you can take that weapon, you got to understand that when that weapon goes off, you might not be the recipient of the bullet, it could be somebody innocent. So the moral application is that bullets do travel a long distance. It's much easier to give somebody $60 than to replace somebody's life. And it's easy for us to stand here and show you these techniques, but when it comes down to the bottom line, we can't live for you. If you were to make that gun discharge and kill somebody, and we can't die for you if you go for that weapon and you find out that you weren't quite as quick as you thought you were.
We're going to show you, to start this, by way of explanation, we're going to demonstrate what the terms clear, control, and neutralize mean. The first one, clear. Clear means clear the weapon, clear your body from the line of fire. First thing, any practice, we're going to clear the weapon first. Clearing the weapon simply means the weapon is held on target, you are the target. Clearing means you move the weapon and your body so that when the weapon discharges, you do not get hit by the bullet. There's 3 basic types of clearing, and it involves just 3 different circular blocks. First one you just saw, high hold. Second one, low cross block, like that. Same, clear the weapon so that you do not get hit by the bullet. Third one, same, low clear, reverse block, just like that. Note they are all soft blocks, circular blocks. To show you the difference, do a high one again. When you do this clear, number 1, it's a soft circular block. There's a reason for it, because control is next. Up here, hard block, this is what happens. We didn't get hit, again, we didn't get hit by the first round, but this is a different age. There's 7 more.
Take a step back.
You do not have control over this situation. Okay, the reason that we say soft block, circular block, it takes some practice, we're going to show you how to do that, is clear, you have a good body position to continue the assault on your opponent, because control is next. Control means after the weapon is cleared, in this system, as we're teaching you, you're not trying to prevent the weapon necessarily from firing. You're trying to stop the weapon from firing at you. You've cleared the weapon, you still have the problem of a live gun in a hostile opponent's control. You have to take control away from them. If you did the clear properly, you're in a good position to maintain control. Control is sticking and trapping to the hands that are controlling the weapon. This is not grabbing, lock them all down. You're not trying to grab. You do not grab at the arm area, not down here. These are not viable techniques. You, once again, clear, clear, control, hands pressed on either side. You cannot expect the hostile opponent to be cooperative with you. This and this is going to be the rule, not the oddity. You have to expect the opponent to provide a reaction to your action, even though you're quick. If you're grabbing, it's too easy to tear out, but if you're sticking and trapping, you do not care how much his movement is, you just stay with it, because at any point in here, you can apply the neutralizing technique, the joint lock. We'll start again from the top. Neutralizing is removing the weapon from consideration in this combat. Clear, control. Now we have control. We do not own the weapon. We're not stopping it from firing yet. That's what we want to do to neutralize it. We want to use a joint manipulation, lock it up like that. Now we can take the weapon out of the situation. Break it down. Done. Okay, in this next section, we're going to show you and tell you about the results of the first several weeks of our research into this program. Try again. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you by demonstration with an unloaded weapon, show you what we found out. We actually discovered this and proved it to ourselves using ammunition called that was wax-loaded plastic bullets used in live guns, and we demonstrated this to ourselves by shooting ourselves several hundred times with these simulated projectiles to find out which way is the best to clear a weapon if there was an advantage to either way. And so that you get clear on what these sides mean, we're going to do it. He's going to clear the weapon to what we call the outside. Clear one time. This is to the outside. I am right-handed. One hand or two hands, doesn't matter. Clear again. This is to the outside. Held in the right hand, cleared to the right side of that person's body. Inside clear, held in the right hand, cleared to the inside or left side of the person's body. This single piece of information took us several weeks to find out exactly why, that it is the reality, and we used these synthetic bullets to prove it to ourselves. When you clear to the outside, number one, you gain a momentary reaction advantage. You are pushing the hand, and the trigger finger must pull against it, back against the momentum. You gain a momentary reaction advantage. If you clear to the inside incorrectly, this kind of strike, movement of the hand this way, involuntarily makes the weapon fire. When we did this, we sustained a bullet pattern of most, if not all, the first shots are off the target on a backstopped wall with white paper, clearing to the inside. It's a print. Marching right across, barely ever off the target. One more time. This is very important.
You're going to try and pull off this time.
This is a very important point of information. We paid for it dearly. It works. You'll be able to prove it to yourself. You'll be able to watch it. You'll be able to see it. Okay?
You're going to try and pull off.
I'm going to pull off.
Once again.
Inside.
That's ugly. I beat that one.
Beat it. Your hand got shot. Boom.
Once more.
The difference, we'll demonstrate it to you a little later. The difference is an incredible difference when we're talking about techniques that perhaps in total deal with 1/3 of a second that you get. To get this weapon clear and start to control the weapon, you have, on a good day, when you get lucky, when the opponent isn't paying much attention, you get 1/3 of a second to deal with all of this. The reaction advantage time is significant. Even more significant is smacking the weapon to the inside, whether you want to pull the trigger or not. The autopsy report might even read accidental shooting, but you're making that trigger finger flex. So even if the person didn't intend to pull the trigger, they do it anyway.
We found by clearing to the outside consistently increased your odds of success about 60%.
Therefore, we do not ever recommend you clear to the inside for any reason. Okay, next with clearing, you're going to see, you hold this time, there. Okay. We'll look at it this way, try middle body like this. This is the next step in clearing the weapon. This target is 14 to 18 inches perhaps in total width, depending on the person. What we need to do here is we're not trying to stop the weapon from firing, we're trying to stop the weapon from shooting me. So I need to move this, assuming we're on center body mass, we have about 7 to 10 inches on either side, and we need to move that 7 to 10 inches out of the way. We can do that two ways. One, you can pivot the body like this. It's the fastest way to do it. And you can move the entire distance that way. Or we can move the weapon out that far. Better, we've devised a system of applications that do both moves. The two moves complement each other. In other words, they make, using the clear like this and the body twist makes the clearing motion faster, more effective, and you're more able to keep your balance. So we're always using motions that complement each other. They speed up the process, they maintain your center of balance, keep you ready for the control part. So outside clearing, we're going to move the weapon half the distance and the body half the distance. Like I said, perhaps we have 7 to 10 inches to move out of the way. We move the weapon 3 inches, you move the body 4 inches, you've cleared the weapon. You can move the 3 inches with the weapon and the 3 or 4 inches with the body far faster than somebody without warning can pull the trigger anytime. Okay? And again. Okay.
Okay, what we're going to show you, and this is for demonstration purpose only, is we are going to show some correct clears and some incorrect clears. As we told you, if a person is right-handed, you want to move the weapon to that direction. If they're holding it in their left hand, you want to move it in this direction. What you're going to see is a lot of the times when he is clearing the weapon incorrectly, the gun will discharge and go against his body, which is a fatal mistake. Do 3 correct clears to start with, and we'll go single action. Okay, now 3 incorrect clears. And I think he was hit 2 or 3 times. I think it's that 3?
All 3.
All 3 rounds. So as you noticed, clearing it to the inside, actually the gun deflected in and struck him. Now we're going to go, and I'm going to do it left-handed this time. When you're practicing these techniques, you remember, not everyone you meet out there is going to be a right-handed person. I believe about 22% are left-handed. Practice both directions. And even get the round off. Do it again. Now do it incorrect. And once again, turn around, face the camera.
100%.
Left-handed, right-handed. When we tell you to clear the weapon to the outside, we meant it. Okay, when we got into doing a lot of our clearing techniques, about a week, 10 days after we came into the concept of clearing the weapon to the outside, everything fell apart on us. We found out if we had video cameras in those days, this is 1978, we'd have cured the problem immediately. One of the critical mistakes that we were making, and we didn't know this until an outsider told us what was happening, is without firing the weapon, when he struck and hit, you saw what happened to the weapon. It deflected back into the body. Now, we were doing these techniques over and over with wax bullets, and we got very frustrated. We then came, when you're attacking a handgun, you can't attack past the wrist. It has to be either against the hand or against the weapon itself. So what we're going to do, he'll do 3 correct clears to the inside with the weapon on single action. And then he'll do 3 striking back here. And you can see what will happen. If you come back here, 50-50 shot, that weapon will deflect back in and discharge into your body. 3 correct. Okay, now 3 incorrect. If you noticed, every time that weapon discharged, striking back here, it fired into the chest. A fatal mistake. We talked earlier about the conditions of a weapon, whether it's a single action or a double action. We're going to do a number of clears, correct and incorrect, with this Beretta on both single action and double action, show you the difference, and it'll show you that you do have a little bit more time dealing with a double action weapon. Start with single action.
Down more.
Okay, if you turn around face, 3 of those are from an incorrect clear. Now we're going to go back to the weapon on being double action, which gives you a little bit more time. When we told you to stick and trap on the weapon, what we're going to demonstrate here with Greg is swing the weapon up, over. Okay, if you grab back here, the action of this slide is going to come back, tear your hand off. Sticking and trapping is doing this. Okay, I've got control of the weapon, and then Greg's going to pull a rapid fire. You see, I'm keeping my hands out away from the slide. Go ahead. You see that slide coming back? If my hand was back here, I'd catch it right in. Once more. Okay, that's good.
I'm going to demonstrate for you by way of explanation. Bob's going to help me. Since most of these techniques are involving joint manipulations, I'm going to show you what amounts to an anatomical explanation. There's literally hundreds of different variations on these techniques, but we want to get real simple about it. There's only so many ways that the hand and the wrist and the elbow bend. Okay? All of these joint manipulations are based on a very few simple ideas, and it's how the hand, the wrist, the elbow, and the shoulder work together. The first one I'm going to show you, if you're bending the hand backwards or forwards, straight back and forward, no twist, just backward, forwards like this, the controlling part of the hand is the middle finger and the bone leading to the wrist. If you have the hand like this and you press down on either one of these or the index finger, you get very little reaction. If you press on the middle one, right at the knuckle, that shows you exactly where the fulcrum point is, right over put these down right over this knuckle. If you press right on this knuckle, not further down the hand, it still works down here, but you press, for demonstration purposes, lay one thumb over the other, press down like this. Okay, now the other ones, we press, press, same thing, we get no reaction, press on the middle one, it works very easy. Same way if you're bending the hand this way, okay? We bend these down, it's a little reaction. The only reaction you get with the other three fingers is just tendons in the upper part of the forearm here. This one is a reaction all the way up. It's connected all the way up, that's where it is. So if you're doing this kind of joint manipulation, you're pressing here, it is not important. If you catch this finger, you lost it. If you just catch these two, you lost it. You stay in the middle and get the middle one, and the reaction is instant. Okay. For twisting joint manipulations, which the majority of the techniques will involve, I mean by that, the hand rotates at the wrist in conjunction with the elbow. Remember, a joint manipulation is the action of opposing one or more joints against another one. It is not the action of applying a technique to one joint alone. This middle one is applying this pressure against the wrist locked here. If I keep the hand straight and push on here, we get nothing. You're applying the pressure from the hand to the wrist to the elbow. The twisting type, the fulcrum points, the points of attack are from the back of the hand. It's in between what I call the thumb web, center here, and between the fourth and the fifth finger bones as they come into the hand, right before they join, there's a little hollow. Those 2 points right there. And this side of the hand, the same. I call it the thumb pad right here, which is just the back side of the thumb web, and you see where these two come down in the middle of the hand. To apply a joint manipulation like this, looks like, just for demonstration purposes, is a twist like this. Stay up, just twist like this, and immediately we're getting a reaction here. The reverse looks the same. I'm putting these 3 fingers in between the fourth and fifth bones as they come into the hand. I'm putting my thumb and the back right on the thumb web and twisting. Twisting like this. That's a joint manipulation. Okay? A wrist joint manipulation by itself is very similar to using this knuckle, the middle finger one, and it looks like a come-along technique. Stand up straight. We're going to have it like this, and I'm putting these 3 fingers over the middle knuckle of the middle finger and pushing back, and you get a reaction. If I miss the middle finger, push on these, nothing happens. Over here, middle one, and we get a reaction. Okay? Because of a factor, these techniques involving joint manipulations involve strength in the middle of the hand and these fingers. If you're going to grab somebody, pretend this is like a broomstick, piece of pipe. You grab it. If you grab it to squeeze and you want to make pain, use your whole hand and squeeze. The fingertips make pain. They have strength. If you're trying to control this arm and you're grabbing, or this hand with a joint break, you are not trying to squeeze it and break the bones, anything like that. You're trying to maintain control of it under adverse situation where the opponent is not going to be entirely cooperative and is going to want to take it away. You need control, trapping strength. The anatomical explanation is you want the strength in the middle of your palm. You want the strength, and the opposed thumb joint gives the strength in the middle of the palm by using the fingers that are farthest away. That's where the leverage comes from. If you include in this joint control, if you use this index finger, you weaken the strength in the center of your hand. You don't want that. You want the opposite. You do not have to go around keeping it stuck straight up like that. If it's there and I'm applying no pressure, I have pressure with these 3 fingers and this thumb, this finger is loose, but it's still down there. That's the same effect as up here. We do this for effect so you remember it, so you learn from that. And if you barely catch this one, we'll play it this way, okay? This joint manipulation technique, we use it. We call it handgun number 1. It's the first one we use. It's a good one to demonstrate this principle. If I get in, maintain contact, and get this joint manipulation, if I barely catch over the top here, I'm going to lose it real easy. He can roll out. You want to get in deep with these fingers. This one is just a control for your position. These are the important ones, in between the 4th and 5th bone of the finger, and get them all over there. The angles between the several joints, the last step that you need to pay attention to. If I have this joint manipulation, we have this configuration out to here. If I leave it out here, resist, it's strength against strength. If I get it too far in and down, it's strength against strength. If the configuration is in this neighborhood, just one finger down makes pain. If it's out here, one finger down, nothing. And to get it back here, it's just, he can turn out of it. But right here, exact configuration, just press, and you can put them on the ground. It's very easy. But the relationship of the angles is important. Same with this joint manipulation. This 3 fingers to the inside of the thumb pad, the thumb on the back between the 4th and 5th finger, and this is the joint manipulation. If I leave the arm too extended, in other words, the relationship of this angle to this one is like this, resistance, he can fight against it. If I get it too far up here, he can push against me. What you have to do is the relationship between this angle and this angle has to look approximately like this, and then it's very easy. And down.
One training tip, if you have a hard time, you keep grabbing with this finger, splint it until you get used to not using it.
Falling technique, number 1 thing you do is you learn to protect the head. And I'm going to teach you 4 basic falling techniques. The first one is from the front. We're going to practice this one and start. You're going to treat the hand, from the tip of the hand to the elbow, as your cushion. The first thing I want you to pay attention to and not get confused about, don't do this, do not slap the ground. None of these am I teaching you to slap the ground. This works on a cushioned indoor surface. If all the hostile situations that you ever have occur on that kind of surface, then you can slap the ground. Otherwise, don't do it. It hurts. It breaks the bones in your hand. It deadens the nerves momentarily, and it doesn't provide any more cushioning effect than if you pay attention to the technique. You're making your hands like a hollow here. Spread them out, okay? On the knees, hands up. Number 1, this is your cushion. You're going to lay all this down. I'm going to show you with one arm at a time. You're going to lay all of this down so it strikes the ground from the tip of your finger to your elbow in that order, but not like this, almost at the same time, but lead with the tips of your fingers. The tips of your fingers tells the rest of you how close you are to the ground first. The second thing, face forward fall. You just got pushed from behind without warning. There's a 12-inch high planter in front of you. You're going face down without warning. All you need for protection, these are the cushions. They come up as you get to the ground. Turn your face to the side. Just front falling practice. It's very simple, but you think about it. Without warning, you get hammered from behind. You're falling face down. This injury is a common occurrence. Turn your face to the side. Use your cushion. Here's the mistakes you can make. When you're practicing with the cushion, this is a common injury also from front falling, is down on the wrist, broken wrist. If it's a hard fall and you're being pushed, if this hits down first, nothing takes the shock, the wrist breaks. Okay? Coming down, elbow hits first, That's the obvious. You have a broken elbow. Use the cushion, turn your face to the side, front falling. You need to practice this by yourself. Then when you're ready, you have your training partner come behind you, push you forward, push you forward, push you forward. Have a force behind you, pushing you forward. When you have this, when it's automatic, you have a self-defense technique. Okay, rear falling. Same problem we're going to have. You get in a confrontation and somebody's going to push you from the front. You're going to fall backwards. This one uses the same technique. These are your cushions again, okay? You start this practice from a seated position, and you're going to learn now how to control your head. When you hit down with a shock in reverse, your head is approximately 30% of the way to your body. It takes some neck muscle control to control your head from going back. Number one technique, when you're being thrown backwards, tuck your chin. Tuck your chin every time. You come back, practice this, put your hands in front, you have your cushion, roll back, plant and tuck your chin, bring your knees up. When you start practicing and make more movement, roll back, hit like that. Plant the cushion, don't smack the ground, plant the cushion and up. Final practice from the rear is you start from this position on your toes, same. I want you to first roll back off of it, plant the cushion, tuck your chin. And last, when you're good, start on a matted surface. It's not a problem. What I don't want to see happen with the students is when you start and you're learning from this instructional material, what I don't want to see happen is premature injuries causing you to stop the practice. It's okay to start this falling practice on a matted surface indoor under excellent conditions. Once you get conditioned to the practice and you're good, then you do it under live conditions, outdoors, grassy fields, concrete. Once you're good at it, you can do that. This third part is you hear and jump like that, plant the cushion, tuck your chin. That's the number one thing, tuck your chin. Don't let your head hit. Okay, I covered, falling can be used just as a self-defense technique in itself to prevent injuries, to fall out of the way. It can also be used as a conditioning tool. It can also be used as a training aid. The number one idea behind this training aid is if you are practicing any kind of combat technique that requires a joint manipulation throw, for instance, this kind, and you're practicing with your training partner, the only way to maintain realistic, full speed, full power combat application of these techniques is if you have a training partner who is well versed in a flipping fall under the duress of a joint break manipulation. Now I'm going to show you, you're going to start the slow way. You're going to first learn a rolling fall. Rolling fall is you're going to maintain a 3-point stance. The right foot, let's start from this side, right foot slightly ahead of the left foot. You put the left hand down, and first you learn, shove your hand through the opening, just like this. Turn your head, follow this way. Up, follow this way. Next, your head's gonna follow your hand through here. And from this 3-point stance, follow through like this. Learn this part. You ready to roll? We're gonna start again. Same 3-point stance. One hand down, slightly in front of the right, here, and follow your hand through. I'm going to show you this slowly on the ground so you see the pattern you're going to make on the floor. This is back of this shoulder touches first. And you roll across your back diagonally so that this part of your back is the last to hit. I'm going to go through it again, show you the landing. 3-point stance here. Your head follows your hand through. Tuck your leg under like this. And the next run through, I'm going to show you, just roll through and stand up. The cross your back starts at this shoulder, ends up here. You're going diagonally across your back for contact. 3-point stance. Head follows your hand through and up. One more time. 3-point stance, down, hand pass through, your head follows your hand through, and up. We call that a rolling fall. Practicing for a flipping fall, we're going to start this way. You already know this 3-point stance. We're going to go back to it momentarily and use it for the flipping fall practice. The first thing you need to do is how you're going to land from a flipping fall. You've just been thrown. This is what you see. This is what you want perfect. You have to learn how to tuck your chin and keep it there. This is the only cushion you have this time because this hand's being broken with a joint manipulation. You only get one. 2 things. Don't let your head go. Don't come down flat like this. Come down on your side. What you see on the ground now is what hits first. The cushion from the tip of your finger up to your shoulder and this foot. That's what hits down first. This comes down second. Sometimes this foot is coming down hard. What I want you to try and remember from this practice I'm going to show you is keep that ankle up. If that ankle bone hits first there, it's cracking. Don't let your foot down like this. Stick it up like this, okay? And you're hitting on the front of the foot. This part of your foot slaps down if you're unable to control it. Sometimes you're unable to control the speed of this foot coming down, so learn to turn it up. Then you hit on the top of your foot. You don't hit the ankle bone on the side. Okay? So this practice starts, you sit on the ground. You're going to go side to side practicing this down technique. You start here and swing up and to this side. Up and to this side. Never let your head down. This whole practice, I suggest you go side to side until your neck muscles are unable to hold your head up anymore. That's how you're strengthening them. Swing up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Just like that. Now we're going to change the 3-point rolling fall exercise I just showed you. Show you how to practice this with the 3-point stance, and you're going to end in the position of a flipping fall. Same 3-point stance. Go here and boom. Again. Three-point stance, hand down. We're not going to touch this time. We're going to fall into it. Boom. Like that. Now I'll show you with the help of my partner what it looks like when we're going to use it for a joint manipulation. Let's try it this way. I'm going to show you a technique to use for just practicing this flipping fall to prepare you to do full power, full speed joint manipulations in these weapon disarms.
Going slow first?
Sure, we're going to walk through it. What I want you to do is you both face each other. I get this foot back. You put your hand out. You're the one doing the fall. Your partner goes over the top. He's getting ready to do a very simple joint manipulation. He steps one foot through, the other foot, come through with the other foot there, and here. This is the joint manipulation I want you to use. Stay there, let him see it. Is my hands being slightly tweaked in a joint manipulation. What it does is it gives you the feeling you're getting your joint locked up. Number 2, it gives you impetus to do the flipping fall. Okay, it's very simple. You can both learn it in a couple minutes. This is the easiest joint manipulation to use to learn these flipping fall techniques because basically it's one technique. You're flipping. The harder the surface that you can do this repeatedly on without suffering ill effects or the bruises and stuff is a measure of how good your technique is and how conditioned you are getting. Because every time you're hitting the floor, it's a conditioning response to your body. It takes the shock, it wants to overcome it. If you don't overdo it too much, every time you practice, give yourself a day 2 rest between, your body rebuilds, You overcondition it by this training, and after a while, a flipping fall on concrete is going to feel the same as a flipping fall on a matted surface. Your technique will work. You won't suffer any injuries from it, and you'll be able to do full power, full speed weapon disarming techniques with another competent partner. We'll try it one time. One more walkthrough so they see how it works. Okay, here, step, down, go. Okay. We'll try it one time.
Full speed?
Yeah.
Clear.
Now this is going to be an improper clear. Now if you notice, he's extended himself way out to the edge. What I want you to do now, Bob, is I want you to resist and turn that weapon back in. And as you notice, with the weapon far out, he lost the strength advantage. So let's go back and do it correctly this time. Now resist. And if you notice, you can't turn the weapon back in. Okay, so if you go to the far outside, you've lost your strength advantage on disarming the weapon. And then correct again. Now watch him flex the wrist, turn it in, and at this point, you've lost any strength advantage. Bring him straight down to the ground. Now do it Weaver stance, both hands on the weapon. Okay. And the same applies. Even Weaver's stance, he'll lose the strength advantage.
One more time, Weaver.
And then hold that. One hand first. On the clearance, he pushes out to the outside, moves the weapon only about 7 inches, and if you notice the torque of the wrist, this takes away my strength advantage. Grip it, and if I try and turn that weapon now, there is no way. If he does it incorrectly and leaves my wrist straight, and I try and turn that weapon in, I didn't have the strength advantage. So the important portion of this is to flex that wrist. As you notice the angle where my wrist is being opposed, it's bent backwards. And then as he rotates the weapon in, you have the opposing joints. All 3 joints are opposing each other. As he pushes straight down, if I don't resist, then my wrist breaks. Oh, that hurt the finger.
This is a muscle memory training technique for handgun number 1. First, clear the weapon. Move the weapon half the distance, the body half the distance. Control, trap, leverage the joint, apply the joint manipulation, down.
Without dropping. Okay, low body,
Low.
center. Now as he clears the weapon, he keeps the weapon again, moving about 9-10 inches, turn his body away. Now as he comes over the top, you have to pay real attention to this line of the muzzle. You don't want to cross the muzzle. Okay, locking both hands up, twisting the wrist in slightly, steps through, comes underneath, and then draws a straight line into the chest. Now, if you go too low and you bring the weapon down here, you start angling it down, he can now resist because he's lost the strength advantage. The weapon then crosses the defender's muzzle. If he goes high, he again loses the advantage. So it's really important on that angle as you come back that you almost draw a line right through the center of the chest. Once again, correctly. Steps through, draws that straight line through the chest.
Resist. Okay.
Now this technique from a hands-up position, as you twist, you're clearing. If you notice, the weapon's only being moved about an inch. Come across the top. I'm trapping at this time. I'm going to start enacting the joint lock by torquing the wrist, not grabbing it. Step through and drive straight in. Now as I pull back, you'll see the angulation of the wrist being opposed against the elbow and then the shoulder. When I go back and push straight in, pain takes him straight down. Without dropping. Go ahead. Without dropping. Go ahead.
This is a muscle memory training technique for handgun number 2. Position, clear the weapon, move the body half the distance, the weapon half the distance. Control, as you start to step through, turn around, lock up the joint, bring it around, straight line under the shoulder.
Now in technique number 3, the clear and the control are going to remain the same. The difference is going to be the end of the technique on a neutralization. It's a downward outside block, twisting his body, and then reaches across and enacts the joint lock by rotating up and around. Now at this point, the wrist is locked, the elbow and the shoulder are all locked up, and by simply dropping straight back and applying the pressure, you'll take the man to the ground. Now an alternate to this move, which alternate number 2 would be to apply a kicking and punching technique. Outside block, reaches across, enacts the joint lock. Now at this point, he can either kick to the face, then kick, drop through, and throw an elbow strike into the jaw while maintaining control of the weapon with the joint lock. Variation number 3, after clearing, controlling with the downward outside block, reaches across, he enacts the joint lock, steps through, and uses his shoulder area to apply pressure to the elbow. Notice the wrist is still bent, taking the strength away from it and maintaining control of the weapon. And variation number 4 of technique number 3 would be the same outward block, the same joint manipulation, only this time he steps over and uses, by twisting his hips in this direction, he'd be flexing the elbow joint against the direction it wishes to move. The gun would pop out of the hand. Once again, and when you're doing joint manipulations, there is a very fine line between locking up the joint and breaking it, so go slow when you're training with your partners. Okay, now with the weapon pointed either between what we call a low or a medium, the outside downward block, he moves his body part of the distance. The weapon's only been moved about 4 or 5 inches. As he reaches across, he traps the hand. He's not grabbing, he's sticking. Rotates his wrist, rotating my wrist up and applying pressure. Now this, at this point, the wrist is locked and the elbow is locked. Now by moving straight back, he drives the person into the ground. You have no choice. Now the alternative to that exact move, same downward outside block, clearing the body and the weapon simultaneously, rotating up and knocking the wrist and the elbow lock, only this time kicking with the back leg to the face, stepping through, maintain the joint lock, and an elbow strike. Alternative number 3 to the same technique. Remember, the clear and the control remain the same. Downward outside block, cross over, trap the hands, rotate up, lock the elbow, the wrist. Only here he's using his elbow to apply more pressure to my elbow. And alternative number 4 would be a step over. Outside downward block, trap, rotate up over, enact a joint lock, step over, and by twisting just his hips, it would shatter the elbow, like he's trying to do to mine.
This is muscle memory training technique for handgun number 3. Hands up, first step, reverse outside clear. Come back around, lock the joint, bring it over like this, and stepping back. All that part is the same for all 4 variations. Again, clear, control, rotate over. Number 1, step back and down. Number 2, clear, control, bring over, kick, bring the joint back, elbow strike. Number 3, clear, control, bring over, pull the joint with you underneath the arm, sit down. Number 4, clear, control, bring the joint over, kick over, in between, twist back with the joint locked here.
Okay, now in this technique with the hammer back, if you notice when the weapon's making complete contact with the body, use this to your advantage. He's actually going to lean a little forward and force contact against that muzzle. Simply by rotating his body, he's clear. If the weapon discharges, he won't be struck. So as he rotates out, he's also going to maintain contact with the hand and traps with his weak hand and rotate the wrist down, pulling forward, and enact the elbow lock. Now that was with the person further away. As the assailant gets closer in, it's the same clear by twisting the body, leaning into the muzzle, twisting, pushing out with the hand, rotating in. Only when he brings the weapon down, he locks the elbow joint up. And then by pushing in, the elbow gets pushed against the shoulder joint. Now the other variation is by stepping slightly forward with his right leg. As he clears and starts to control, he'll step in once and then use his elbow for leverage to enact the shoulder elbow lock. Now, if the opposition places the weapon against your body, the natural reaction to most people, we pull away from the weapon. Okay, once again, if you pull away, you're losing the advantage of first movement. So the first movement would be actually lean slightly forward, twist. And that's the only movement is maybe an inch in the actual weapon. Now this time Randy is intentionally going to try and shoot as I make the initial move. And if you notice, when the weapon discharge, I'm cleared from its path off the trigger once again.
Hands down, dude. Just with the...
Even with the hands down. The important thing is, don't be hit by the bullet. Now in this technique, if you clear the weapon, start enacting the joint lock, step around, lock the elbow into the hip. The second technique, the clear remains the same. Maintain contact, push, rotate, and straight through. Technique number 3, once again, if the weapon is placed against your body, maintain that contact. Push, step through, and break down.
This is muscle memory training technique for handgun number 4. The start is, weapon is in your throat, clear, pay attention to not clearing the weapon too far, control, turning, elbow break, throw around. Variations start the same, weapon in the throat, clear, control, joint lock against the opponent. Number 3, clear is the same, turn, control, step through, elbow, hook inside, and pushing down this way.
Now, technique number 5 is generally used between a low and a center hold on the weapon, so go start at the belt line. Number 1 is to clear the weapon, twist your body, move, and this is done with a cross block. And then he comes over and breaks the elbow down. If you notice the point where the elbow was struck would actually cause the elbow to bend involuntarily, and steps through, locks the elbow up. Now this enacts an elbow and a shoulder lock. And then you can reach behind and take the weapon. And now if he were to take this hand and bring it straight up, he'd tear the elbow, the rotator cuff, right out. So once again, clear, steps inside, breaks the elbow down, follows through, and if he were to go up further, the higher he comes up with this, the more the weapon wants to be released, and it locks the shoulder up. You do that once again, do it middle. Once again, turns the body half the distance, only moves the weapon about 7 inches, breaks the elbow down, follows through in a circular motion, and once again, the rotator cuff and the elbow are locked up. And the weapon is pointing downward or outward away from the body. All these techniques, at no time will the muzzle ever cross your body. Okay, now in this technique, he's going to go ahead, twist, pivot at the hips, and notice his knees bend a little bit. That maintains the center of balance, pushing the weapon to the outside about 5 to 7 inches. Steps through, and then breaks right at the elbow joint, which is the important part you want to hit, where that elbow joint flexes involuntarily. And then just follows through in a circular motion, and at this point, the weapon is either going to come out of their hand, but cannot be redirected.
This is muscle memory training technique for handgun number 5. Hands up, weapon at lower part of your body. First, clear the weapon, twisting half the distance, move the weapon 4 or 5 inches. Step in as you break down the elbow, keep the weapon hand pushed out this way, break the elbow down this way, turning up this way, the weapon stays behind here, you have a shoulder and elbow joint lock.
Go ahead and point the weapon Now an intermediate style weapon, which is generally either a sawed-off shotgun like this rubber one that we're using, or a submachine gun, one of the weapons of choice nowadays of the street gangs, is where a person might hold the weapon with two hands, and the technique varies slightly. This is a #1 technique on an intermediate, and it's done with a straight cross block, twisting the body to the side, and then he will come across, he's sticking and trapping, and then basically sticking the hand that's forward of the weapon to the weapon, steps underneath, drops low, and then enacts a double joint lock, where both joints are locked. They're holding the pistol grip, locks up unless he lets go of the weapon, and his hand that is trapped is locked in elbow, shoulder, and wrist. Second time through for how not to do this. Now, one of the common mistakes that people make on any spinning technique is spinning into the wrong direction. Okay, so he drops through, rather than drop low, he brings the weapon high. He just lost his strength advantage. Pull back. Okay, so when you're coming underneath, one more time, notice the drop from the knees down low. Also, it's a shorter circle, and the shorter the circle, the faster your ability to create that circle. Once more proper. Sticks, drops low, and then brings the weapon in a continued motion. The person's wrist would either break or they would have to flip out of it. With the intermediate weapon, with the forward hand is what we're going to attack. And if you notice on the clear, I'm barely moving that weapon, maybe 1 to 2 inches. If I were to push that way out to here, I couldn't do anything. He's resist. He's got the strength advantage. When I bring the weapon in here close, resist. I can still torque him. I have the advantage. So once again, back to your clearing, don't want to slam that weapon. You want to just barely move it, twist your body. Coming across, I'm not grabbing, I'm sticking. Basically doing this with my hands that maintain his grip on the weapon. As I come under, I'm going low, keeping that circle short and pulling through. Once again, now if he didn't let go with that back hand, his wrist would have broke. It's impossible for them to maintain the grip on the hand, on the pistol grip. Clear it slow, stick, come through. As you're going through, you're stepping and you're dropping low, keeping that circle short. And once again.
This is muscle memory training technique for intermediate gun #1. Hands up, weapon is pointed low, clear, low cross block to the outside, turn your body and move the weapon. Come over, step through as you're bending, bring it around, not over your head, bring it around and into the opponent's midsection. That's the direction you're aiming for.
Okay, now using another intermediate weapon, this is a rubber Uzi. In this particular technique, we're going to use the magazine well and the magazine as a leverage point against the person himself. Now, with the weapon pointed center body mass, the clear on this one is a downward outside block. Okay, once again, the weapon only moved about 2 to 3 inches. Okay, he reaches over the top. One thing it is noticing here is that his hand went across and he is now trapping the trigger hand against the pistol grip. As he rotates over, he's going to get underneath that magazine. Now at this point, okay, he is locked up in the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist is locked against the magazine, and the forearm is trapping his forward hand against the weapon, and downward, straight downward pressure would break everything. This is 6 joints locked up at once. Now using the intermediate weapon, okay, with the weapon pointed in the center, he's going to turn around, execute an outside block, okay, steps through, and notice he's trapping the right hand, or the hand holding the trigger, against the weapon, comes underneath, and at this point locks both wrist, elbow, and shoulder on the right arm. Ooh. And the left arm, which is at the front of the weapon, is also trapped.
This is muscle memory training technique for intermediate weapon number 2. Hands up, two-hand subgun held low. First, clear to the outside. Cross over, lock up at the magazine and trigger finger area. Push this arm through, straight ahead, locking up both joints back on the opponent. Okay, for this technique, intermediate weapon number 3, we're using simulated sawed-off shotgun. The purpose of this technique, showing it's high range. We've done a couple at low, and if the clear starts out, same as the other ones, outside clear, turn the face a little bit, the body a little bit, move the weapon a little bit. It comes around, locks up the joint, takes it through. Now we're going to take it through slow, step at a time, and I'm going to show you the mistake most commonly made with this technique. Clear is fine, same with each one. As he's taking it back, he's taking the barrel of the weapon straight back, resist, push back. He can fight it. When the barrel's coming over, it wants to go in a curving spiral that way, then you have this joint locked up properly. Straight back, you're not offering, you're not using a joint break to disable the opponent. It's strength against strength, you're missing the technique.
Once again, resist.
Straight back, the opponent's strength against strength.
No.
One more time, step by step. Clear, control, twist.
And try and resist this time when I take the weapon over to the side.
Okay. Clear, control, resistance results in a takeaway.
Now once again on the clear, with the weapon pointed in such, we're not going to move it a lot of distance, we're going to move the body away. And if you notice, the weapon's moving maybe 1 inch. Then you come through, and what you're looking for is to trap this hand and slap right against it, no grab. And then push. And you're enacting 2 joint locks. Once again, on the clear, the weapon's barely being moved, sticking and trapping, stepping out with the left foot, and forcing the weapon in a circle. And you can go straight down and forcing them straight down.
This is muscle memory training technique for intermediate weapon number 3. We have hands up, weapon high hold. This direction, first is a clear, turn the face, move the weapon a little bit. You have maybe 6 inches total movement, half with each, half with the weapon, half with your face. Come around, trap the hand holding the trigger, and push in. Concentrate using this technique, push in with the midsection. Don't bend over like this. Push in straight. You're driving the weapon straight to the shoulder and to the outside.
Okay. Now, in using an intermediate weapon, when the assailant uses the weapon one-handed, such as a handgun, we're going to use the same technique we use in a handgun. There's a variation in this, is that we're going to use the length of the weapon against the person. So hold it face high, and notice there'll still be an outside block clear, and this time Randy's going to come underneath and use the front end of this weapon as a leverage point, bending the wrist out, same joint manipulation, taking the assailant straight down. Okay, now this is an outside block, moving the body, and the weapon only moved about an inch. Now he's going to come underneath. If you notice, the point that he's blocking at is where the hand meets the pistol grip. And then going in an outward circular motion, forcing the weapon and the hand back. Okay, now one mistake that's commonly made in this technique, okay, as he clears the weapon, he's going to come and go straight into me. This gives me the advantage. He's not locking the joint. I could pull back, redirect the weapon, or just the strength versus strength move, start forcing that weapon back. Now do it to the outside correctly. If he bends the joint and I try to step back, I can't redirect the weapon because my joint has been locked up. There's no way I've lost all my strength.
This is muscle memory training technique for intermediate weapon number 4. First step, hands up, weapon held high, clear, barely move the weapon, turn your face a little bit. As you get control of the weapon, you're sliding your foot forward, pushing the weapon in the barrel in a curving path down. Yeah. Okay, for long gun technique, number one difference in most of these techniques, you have to deal with the length of the weapon. It changes the same joint break and it ends up being a different technique. The clear is the same. Clear to the outside, move the body part of the way, the weapon part of the way. Now, because of the length of the weapon, he has to move in. Attack the hand grip back here, right where the wrist joint is, and push the barrel over the correct way. And you're just walking the gun over and ripping it out of his hands this way. Come back. Again, incorrect. This is the same problem you'll have with the other weapons. With this particular joint manipulation, if you push it straight at his face, he presses back. Resistance. There is not a joint leverage advantage if you push it straight back at the opponent. You must, as you push it, curving arc to the side and down. That provides the joint lock. One more time, step by step, slow, clear, move in, apply the joint break.
Once again, with the weapon held high, you're going to clear your body out of the line of fire, moving the weapon very slightly. Now, the incorrect technique, as I come in, make contact, is pushing the weapon straight back. This is wrong. If he resists, we're now in a strength match. Go ahead and take a step back. And if he steps back, I'm in trouble. Correctly, after the clear and I break down, I'm going to maintain this same arc and push the weapon at an angle, which takes away his strength advantage. And if I keep rotating the weapon, he's got no choice but to let go of the weapon and fly through the air.
Yeah. Yeah. This is muscle memory training technique for long guns number 1. High hold on the weapon, hands up. First, clear, similar to several other techniques. 1, like this. Move your body, move the weapon, half the distance each. Slide in because of the length of the weapon. Control, push the weapon in a downward curving arc. This is long gun technique number 2. It's a low hold. The clear is the same as we've seen before. Cross over and get the control here as you step through. You have the longer weapon, so he's going to bring it around. The same type of joint break with a short gun and an intermediate gun, only now because of the length of the weapon, he has his shoulder to use as a fulcrum point against the joint break that's already initiated here. It does not matter whether the opponent hangs on to the pistol grip or the trigger guard at all. Either way, the same joint manipulation works. Move him a little bit. That's it. Just right. Just right.
Okay. On this, we're going to do the same type of a clear. You're turning your body half the distance, actually only moving the weapon about 1 inch. As you come across and stick, what we're doing is we're basically trapping the hand, both hands to his hand to the weapon with both hands, coming through. And if you noticed, at this point right here, I've got the joint lock and the elbow locked up, and just by rotating my shoulder, causes him to move around in a circle.
This is muscle memory training technique for long gun number 2. Hands up, low gun hold. Clear. Get control as you're stepping in. Bring the weapon around in a circle as you're locking up the joints, using the shoulder as a leverage to bring the opponent around.
Now with the long gun being held in what we call assault style with the butt underneath the armpit and gripping the pistol grip, we're going to do an outside block from either hands down, hands up, clear the weapon slightly, steps through, and then loops over and uses that leverage point to tear the weapon loose. Continues his walk through with his left leg, spins out, and gets control of the weapon.
This one, the clear is the same as you come in to maintain control, you're stepping in at the same time. You're using the length of the weapon as the lever. Spin it out. The only thing it's locked on is because it has a pistol grip, assault-style weapon. It's breaking his finger off out of the trigger guard. You keep swinging it in by him, tear it out, and hold. This is muscle memory training technique for long gun number 3. Hands up, one hand hold on the assault rifle, held high. First is clear the weapon. As you reach in to gain control, you step in, lock behind the wrist, use the leverage of the weapon to push forward, bringing it around like that. And the weapon is in your hand.
Once again, handgun against the body or any weapon pushed against your body, you want to maintain contact, maybe even push back even slightly and rotate out. This is giving him the momentum advantage. As he comes around, his elbow is coming up over and he's aiming into this point, breaking the elbow down and then going in a circular motion straight up. Okay? At this point, he can reach behind, gain control of the weapon, but if he does fire the weapon would fire behind the defender. There's no way he could pull the trigger with his shoulder broken.
This handgun technique, from behind, the weapon is touching the body. Use the weapon to roll off as you come around to clear, and the arm rotates over so it breaks the elbow down, pick straight up, finish.
Okay.
This is muscle memory training technique for handgun rear number 1. Hands up, gun is at the back of the head touching. First to clear, roll off the weapon this way. This hand shoots behind the elbow and rotates from here to here. Break down on the elbow to bend it. Bring it straight up like this with assistance here, and it's locked. You can reach behind, pull the weapon out of the hand.
Once again, a weapon small of the back, you want to maintain contact with the weapon. He's going to twist out, maintains contact with the clearing arm, reaches across, and it's a roll. Rolls that wrist right into a lock. Maintains pressure and puts his opponent's face into the ground. Variation number 2, everything remains the same in the beginning. The clear, maintaining contact with the weapon, rolling out, reaches across, rolls it up into a joint lock, into a wrist lock. But this time the difference is he stepped forward and his elbow went to the other side, and he used that elbow as a pressure to put pressure on the elbow. And in the third variation, once again, weapon pushed against the back, maintain contact, clear it, reaches over, twist, rolls it in, steps over, and then uses his hips and his legs to pop the elbow joint out. Okay, you maintain contact with the weapon, rotate out, come underneath with the blocking hand, trap here, flex the wrist against, come straight down, breaking the wrist. Okay. Variation number 2. Clear, everything remains the same. Maintain contact with the weapon, rotate out, come in with the block hand. Only this time I'm going to pull slightly forward, bring my elbow, slide my arm down to where I'm above his elbow, and then put pressure on that elbow joint, sitting right down on it. Third variation, everything remains the same. Maintain contact with the weapon, rotate out, come underneath, catch. Only this time I'm going to step over, and then just by popping here, we'll break the elbow.
Clear, turn the body half the distance. Remember this arm, don't let it drop. You're getting shot here if you do. Up, turn, step into it, control the weapon, bring it over, slide the forearm lock for leverage, bring him down to the deck. Second variation, same clear. Clear, control, bring the weapon up, joint lock, underneath your arm, catch here, sit out. Number 3, clear is the same. Clear, control the joint, bring it around. This is for when the opponent's trying to stretch out, go away from you, bring it all the way around, step over, catch to here, turn back, snap the joint.
Okay, once again, if the opponent ever puts the weapon against your back, actually lean back slightly against it. Make sure you maintain contact. He's going to twist out, coming around with the left hand, blocks it, comes across with the right, and enacts an elbow break. Quick and simple. Now a variation of this is another elbow break, but from underneath. Once again, he maintains contact with the weapon, rotates out, blocks with his left hand, pushes down, and comes up and breaks the elbow from underneath. Once again, with the weapon against the body, he's going to maintain contact. As he rotates out, he gains the initiative if they fire. Okay, maintains contact, and he's maintaining pressure. So if I try and rotate the weapon, I can't. And then reaches over and pops the elbow. Variation number 2, the clear remains the same. Twist out, rotates over, and breaks the elbow from underneath.
This is a muscle memory training technique for rear handgun number 3. Hands up, gun touching in the middle area of the back. The clear, straight around like this. Bring your hand with you. Don't leave it back here. Don't drop it down here. You get it shot. Bring it with you. Clear. Step around, over, using this as the fulcrum. Hang 3 fingers down. Pull. That's it. Variation number 2, same clear. Clear, you bend and twist a little, clear the weapon, come under. This hand lays more on the top this time, you bring it up. Push down, break it up.